Hello friends, I am Dilip Singh. Welcome to the third CSS lecture of the tutorial series for web programming. Uh, Today we will learn the CSS selectors. Right. So you already know what is the syntax of the writing the CSS style sheets. Basically, it's having three main things that we have to apply. One is a selector, then property, then the value. So let's discuss about selectors in more detail. What are the various type of CSS selectors available or we can use in order to uh, apply the CSS style rules in our web page, right? So what is selectors? Selectors basically select the web page elements, right, or group of elements or even the whole page in order to apply the CSS style rules for the purpose of its decoration. Okay, so the one selector we already have used, that is element selector, by using tag name. So the previous lectures we already have done this way of selecting the HTML element on which we want to apply the CSS style, right, by simply using the tag name of the element on which we want to apply the CSS. For example, here if we want to apply the CSS in the paragraph, then the selector will be P and then the CSS rule. Okay, and the second category or second type of selector is universal selector, by using star or asterisk or the sign of multiplication, right? So what is universal selector and what is element selector? Element selector basically select the element by using tag name and apply the CSS rules to those uh, element, all those element available in the web page. Like here, all the available paragraph will become red, but universal selector apply the CSS rules to the all the element of the web page. If web page is having heading h1, h2, paragraph p, then maybe that unordered list, so all the element of the web page, if we want to apply the CSS rules, then we can use the universal selector, right? Then the third type of selector we can use is descendant selectors. So descendant selectors used to apply the CSS rules to the element that is inside the another elements, right? For example, suppose we want to text color should be red for only those paragraph or p element that are within the div element. So we'll use div element because we want the paragraph that is inside the div element, only those paragraph text color should become red. So this is how we can use the descendant selector. This is the parent and it's a descendant, right? We'll see and it would be more clear when we'll see the demonstration, don't worry. Now the another category of selector is a class selector, correct? And we use class selector with the help of dot before the class name. For example, if in HTML page there is a class which value is group 1, then we can select that class with the help of dot group 1 and will make the text color for that class to be blue, right? Or we can more specifically select by the mentioning the tag name before the dot. So it means what we want all the heading h1 elements text color should become red, which belongs to class group 1. Okay, and here it is generalized. Here in this case, all the element in web page belong to class group 1 should set the text color blue, but here all the h1 heading element belong to group 1 class should change its text color to be red, right? So this is how we can use the class selector, right? And the another one is the id selector. We know that that id in HTML basically used in order to uniquely identify the element within the web page, or even the web within the web page. So we can use this selector by using hash before id name. Okay, so suppose in our web page there is some element which is having id my para. Suppose there is a paragraph which is having id my para, so we can refer my para by putting hashtag before it. So hash my para, and then we can apply its text color should be green. So in a web page, the paragraph having the id my para, its text will become green, right? Now the child selector. So child selector is somehow similar to the descendant selector, but a little bit difference is there. That is, child selector basically used to apply the CSS rules to the element that is the direct child of another element, correct? So for example, here body is an element, and within the body there is a paragraph p. So paragraph p is a child of body tag, right? So we can refer the paragraph p as a child of body tag by mentioning the body, then the greater than symbol, and then the tag name child paragraph. So here it means that we want the paragraph that is within the body, its text color should become red. So this is how we can select the child of any element, right? This is used to select the direct child. Similarly, in CSS3 there is another selector called nth-child. Okay, so nth-child is used to apply the CSS rules to every element that is the nth child of its parent. Okay, so suppose here how we can write. So suppose we want to specify the text color for every p element that is the second child of its parent. Doesn't matter who is the parent, but here we mention that second child of the P is a second child. All the P element or paragraph element who are the second child of its parent, their text color should become blue. So this is how we can use the nth child selector. Okay, so these are the various selectors in CSS. That class and ID selector is most frequently used selectors basically when we develop some projects, right? So let's see what are the various type of selectors available in the CSS. Element selectors using tag name, universal selectors using a star, descendant selectors, then class selectors, then ID selectors, child selectors, and then nth child selector. Okay, now let's see some more thing. Well, till now we have seen that here we are applying only one CSS rule for any element, but we can apply multiple CSS rules to the element by separating those CSS rules by semicolon, right? We'll see how we'll do in the demonstration. Then grouping the selectors, we basically how we can achieve grouping the selectors. Basically we can apply CSS style rules to the many selectors by using a comma. More than one selectors at a time, we can apply the CSS rule to the more than one selectors, right, by using comma. Okay, so we'll see in the demonstration how we'll do. Okay, so let's start the demonstration. Here I already have created the basic HTML structure, means our web page, right? So here in our web page currently having the head section, under which right now having the title CSS selectors. Then the body sections we are having heading 1 with h1 tag and heading 2 with h2 tag. Then there is a 2 paragraph, right? And in the body section there is a division tag, and you may remember that in our HTML tutorials we have learned division basically used for grouping the related elements. So the division section having one heading h1 and one paragraph p, right? So this is our structure of a web page on which we are going to apply the various CSS rules using various type of selectors that we are learning here, right? So let us first save it, and I will save it in our folder my CSS web, and I'll give it a name to my this web page, suppose selectors.html. see Now let's see how it looks. Selectors.html. okay, so this is the page right now we are having. Okay, heading 1 h1, heading 2, then 2 paragraph. This is the paragraph 1 outside the division, this is the paragraph 2 outside the division, then heading 3 and another paragraph which is the inside the division, right? So these are the elements right now or the content of our web page right now without the CSS. Now let us decorate it with using the cascading style sheet CSS rules, right? Okay, so first of all, well, here I am going to use the internal method of applying the CSS rules. And you know the internal method how we can use, we have learned in the last lecture, last video tutorial, by using style tag. Okay, so I have opened this style tag, then close this, and within this style tag we will use all our css style rules. Okay, well, so first of all, let us see the first method of selector, that is element selector, using the p tag, which is already have done in the previous video lectures, right? So let's see, suppose what I want that the h1 or okay h2 heading 2 h2 color should become red. So how I'll do, I will select or h2, let's see what I want, the paragraph color should become red. So what I will do with the help of element selectors, I can select p. P is element paragraph, right? So p, and within that I can apply color to be red. Okay, and I will save it, and let's go to the browser, and you can see here we have 3 paragraph here, correct? And what this statement means, p fourth paragraph, for all the paragraph within this page, set its text color to be red. So all the 3 paragraph text color will become red. So let's refresh it. You can see here all the 3 paragraph text color now become red here, correct? Okay, now let us see the another type of selector, that is universal selector, which basically apply the css rule to the all the elements of this the web page, right? So let's see how it works. Here in place of p, if I will use star, so this means universal selector, it will select all the element of the web page and apply the text color should be red. So all it will select all the element of the web page. We know that in our web page how many elements are there, one heading 1, then h2 heading 2, then 2 paragraph outside the div element, then inside the div element heading 1, and then the paragraph. All these will become red because universal selector will select all the element in order to apply the css rules. So let's see, if I'll go in the web browser and I will refresh it. Okay, let's see. Oh, I have not saved, so I have to save it in order to apply the changes. So I save, now I'll refresh it, and you can see all the elements text color become red now. Okay, so this is how universal selector work. It select all the element of the web page. Okay, now the next one is a descendant selector. Okay, so descendant selector, suppose let us remove this, and okay, let's not remove this, let's learn how to put the comments in css. And you know, like in html we already have discussed the comments we generally use for putting the statement that will not interpreted by the browser will not execute that statement if we'll put comment in front of that statement. So suppose I want to put comment here in css, comments are used by / then star, and at the end of the statement again star then /. So within this, sorry, within / is star, and star and / whatever we will write, it will not get interpreted or executed by the compiler. So let's see, now this will not work. Let's see, if I'll refresh it, again I forget to save changes. Okay, if I will refresh it, you can see all become all become to their original text color, that was the black. Okay, so this rule is not applied because we have commented these rules. Okay, now let's go to the next one, descendant selector. Now what I want to apply the uh, CSS style to the this h1 heading of the division. So let us understand the first structure of this HTML web page. The HTML is the element containing all other elements within it. So all other element will become the child of the HTML element, because HTML element is basically holding all other element within it, right? Similarly here, head and body, these two are the separate portion of the web page. So head is having within it its child title, another child is style. So there in this web page there is two child, head is having two child, and the body is having how many child? Body is having this direct child h1, then h2, then paragraph p, another paragraph p. So they are the child of body tag, right? Division is a direct child of body tag, but h1 within the division is not a direct child of body tag. H1 within the division is a direct child of div tag, right? Because h1 is within the div tag. So div is a parent and h1 and p are the child of div tag, right? So this is how we generally interpret all the elements of HTML web page. Okay, so let's see the descendant case. Suppose here if I'll write div, then space, then within the div I'll write h1 and then put color should be red. Okay, and I'll save it, and then let's see what happened. If I'll refresh it, you can see only one h1 heading become red, which is inside the division. Okay, in page you can see h1, there is another h1 outside the division, and this h1 is inside the division, but I want that only this heading should become red. Then we know that this heading is a descendant, means this heading is within the div element, this element is within the div element, so h1 becomes the descendant of div element. So how we can apply the CSS rules to the descendant? By using simply the name of the parent and then the next the descendant, name of the descendant tag on which we want to apply these CSS rules. Okay, so this is how we can use the descendant. Now let us again comment it. So you know that how we can make the comment like this, and I'll save it, and I'll go to the web page, I will refresh it, and that all the thing is gone, because there is a comment and browser will ignore or skip the code which is commented. Okay, now let us see the another selector, that is class selector. So very important selector, class and id. So let's see, suppose in our HTML page this paragraph p having set its attribute class, and suppose its name is my para. Okay, so this is my para. So the class attribute and its value is my para. Okay, similarly suppose let's see within the div element again p is having the class attribute set to the my para. Okay, so now we have created a class my para under which two elements, means two elements belong to class myPara. One is this paragraph which is outside the div element, paragraph 1, and another one is this paragraph which is inside the div element, right, inside div element. Now suppose I want to apply the CSS rule which applied only to this para and this para. Then how I can do this? Using this class, using this class name, right? So let's see how we will do that. So I have here used the class attribute, right, in order to make this para and this para to belong to this my para class. So how I can use the class selector? By using dot, then the name of the class, that is my para, and after that, sorry, I will apply suppose color to be blue. Okay, and now if I will save it and I'll go to the browser, so the blue color will be applied to this paragraph because this paragraph belong to the class myPara, and this paragraph because this belong to the myPara, whereas blue text color will become blue, will not become blue for this paragraph because this paragraph doesn't belong to the class myPara. So let's see, I'll refresh it. Again I forgot to save it, I think. My para, just a moment friends, my para class my para dot my para. I saved it. So let's see, if I'll refresh it, it's not working. Why it is not working? It should work.